When God gave Adam and Eve a home in the Garden of Eden, there was only one rule. Don't eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, because if you eat from it, you'll die. Remember, God made us for himself. He wanted Adam and Eve to obey him, but in order for them to do that, there had to be the option to disobey. Otherwise, their obedience wouldn't be real. The fruit on the tree was the opportunity, and the devil said, "Take it! It'll make you like God." So, after some thought, Adam and Eve both ate the fruit. In their pursuit to be little gods, they rebelled against the one true God. Later that day, God came walking through the garden. Now, normally, Adam and Eve would have run to meet God when they heard him coming. However, today, they hid because they knew they had disobeyed him. Have you ever done something that you knew your parents wouldn't want, and you tried to hide it? That's what Adam and Eve were doing. They had always been naked, but now they felt naked. They tried to fix it with clothes made out of leaves, but it wasn't enough, so they hid altogether. When they didn't come running, God called out, "Hey Adam, where are you?" Now, did God really not know where they were? Of course he knew. He's God. No, when God asked where they were, it wasn't because he couldn't find them. He was saying, "Hey Adam, see where you are? You're supposed to be close to me, but instead you've chosen to hide from me." Remember how God said that Adam and Eve would die if they ate the fruit that was on the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? Well, they had died. You see, death is separation. Think of it this way. When someone we love dies, we have a funeral. At the end of the funeral, we put their body in the ground. If that person was a Christian, we say they went to heaven. Well, which is true? Are they in the ground or in heaven? Well, both are true, kinda. You see, while their body is in the ground, their spirit is in heaven. Their body and their spirit are no longer in the same place. They've been separated. That's physical death. In this scene, when Adam and Eve hid from God, they had died spiritually. God was in one place in the garden and they were in another. Because of their disobedience, they hid and separated themselves from him. The close relationship they'd once had with the Lord was now broken. After God called out for them, Adam admitted that they were hiding because they were naked. God asked them, "Who told you that you were naked? Did you eat from the tree from which I told you not to eat?" Again, God knew what they had done, but he wanted them to confess it to him. Agreeing with God about how we've disobeyed him is the first step in repairing the relationship with him that's been broken by disobedience. God wanted Adam to say, "Yes, God, I did eat the fruit that you told me not to eat. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me." Adam wouldn't confess, though. Instead, he blamed Eve. We like to blame others when we're wrong, don't we? We feel like we're taking the attention off ourselves and our wrongdoing when we point at someone else's wrong. However, pointing out how others mess up doesn't change the fact that we mess up. We're still responsible for our decisions, right or wrong. Adam said, "The woman you gave me, she told me to do it. It's her fault." Isn't that sad? When God first brought the woman to the man, Adam literally sang for joy. Now he said that she was the problem. Their relationship was broken too. When God asked Eve why she had disobeyed, she followed her husband's lead and blamed someone else too. Imagine if Adam had just taken his responsibility to lead his wife more seriously from the beginning. What if he had told Eve, "No, God said not to eat this stuff and we're going to listen"? What if after disobeying God, Adam had admitted his sin? When God questioned Eve about it, would she have followed him too and confessed her sin to God? We'll never know because they chose to play the blame game instead. "It's the snake's fault," Eve said. "He tricked me." By the time God got to the snake, who was the devil, he began to curse him. You see, the devil wanted people to obey him instead of God. He wanted to be the king of God's creation, but God told him, "You don't get to sit high on a nice throne. No, you get to crawl in the dirt." So the snake slithered away. God told him, "Yeah, you better run. All of this woman's kids are going to hate you, and one day a special child of hers will defeat you for good." Then God turned to Eve and told her, "It's going to hurt to have those kids, though. It's going to be hard to have babies now." Then God told Adam, "Your work is going to be hard now too. Just as Eve would struggle to give birth, Adam would struggle to grow food. God told him he would work hard, and sometimes food would grow, but other times weeds and thorns would grow. You can't eat those, they just hurt. People's relationship with God was broken, and that caused all of creation to be broken. Nothing would be as good as God had meant for it to be before sin. On top of everything else, Adam and Eve could no longer live in the beautiful garden that God had made for them. You see, there was another powerful tree in the garden, the tree of life. If Adam and Eve ate its fruit, they would never die. Sounds good, right? Sounds like the fix. However, if they ate from that tree, they'd live forever with their sin. They'd have to live forever in the world that they had broken with their disobedience. God knew that that would be awful, so he made them leave. This isn't what Adam and Eve wanted. They wanted their way instead of God's way, but it messed everything up. Now they would grow old and die. Work would be hard, childbirth would hurt, and their home was gone. Brokenhearted, they turned to leave the only home they'd ever known. But God sent them out with a reminder of his love. God made them new clothes out of animal skins. Do you know what that means? It means that those animals died. They had to die for Adam and Eve's sin. It's sad, but God was showing them and us that the problem of sin could only be fixed by the shedding of blood. Did the animals' sacrifice take away their sin? No, the animals' blood only covered their sin until the one would come and take it away. Remember the special child of the woman who God promised would come and defeat the snake for good? This is how he would do it. But he would defeat the devil and sin not by shedding more animal blood, but by shedding his own. By giving his life as payment for sin, like the animals that died and gave up their skins, Jesus would take away sin, making it possible for people and God to be together again. Well, that was a happier ending than the story from the last episode, wasn't it? Adam and Eve had just disobeyed God, and we were all wondering, would things ever be okay again? But God promised He was going to send a rescuer to take away the sin. And we're going to talk about that more as we go through this demo portion. But before we get started, I just wanted to tell you, I originally was going to use watercolors, and I did that. I'm going to show you how mine turned out in a moment. And I may even post the video of me doing the watercolor portion as well. So if you want to see that, you can find that on YouTube as well. It won't necessarily be like this episode. It'll just be the painting portion. But as I was doing it, I didn't like the shape of all of the dots and everything on the painting. So I changed to this chiseled edge paintbrush. And so maybe we can zoom in on that and you can see that. But you see how it's kind of squared off, okay? And I thought, you know what? After I was done, I liked the look of the painting that I had, but I thought, you know what? You guys probably don't have that in your paint set. And so as I was looking at my drawing, and you can kind of see up here how close they are, I thought, you know what, that looks a lot like marker strokes. And I thought, you know what, that would be a whole lot easier for people to start off with as far as doing impressionism. So that's why we called an audible. We're using markers today instead. And so here's just a few basic tips on this. Make sure that as we're going along, you follow along with us. We're going to be coloring in the drawing from top to bottom. Okay, and the reason for that is you can see on my hand here I've got some green smudges, okay? That's because whenever you rest your hand on the marker, it will actually start to smudge on your drawing. So, unlike watercolor, whenever you put your hand on there, it's not going to really mess with it as long as the watercolor is drying. But whenever you switch to marker, you're going to start to get some smudging, and then you're going to get green where you don't want green, and blue where you don't want blue. So
and black where you don't want black.
Exactly, but the thing is today we're not using black, okay? So, at any rate, we're going to go ahead and first, we're going to go ahead and draw in, just like you saw in the beginning of the episode, we're going to do a kind of like a back sketch of the actual picture, okay? And I'm going to show that to you again here on the screen. Start off sketching in the treetops. They should look like bottoms of clouds along the top of the page. Be careful not to draw them too low on the page. Keep them in the top quarter of the page. Next, draw in the row of bushes, making sure to leave room for grass along the bottom. Your bushes should fit just below the middle of the page. Before drawing the row of bushes all the way across the page, draw a small bush on the right side of the page. Next to that bush, sketch in the front half of the lamb as if it's walking out from behind the bush. Once you finish adding in the lamb, you can finish the row of bushes in front of the lamb. Next, we'll add the tree trunks. I'm drawing in 3 tree trunks with multiple branches on each. They don't have to be super detailed as this drawing will be abstract, which means that it won't be super clear, and that's okay. Just make sure to leave room for Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve will be turned facing the lamb. I'm drawing Eve with her hands on her face as if she's sad. Adam stands behind her with his hand on her shoulder, trying to make her feel better. Again, you don't have to be detailed. We're just going to color over these stick figures with chunky dashes. For the snake, let's draw just the curvy tail in the corner as if he's trying to get away. 1 or 2 big curves and a small tip are all you want. Last, draw a circle with a squiggly mark on it to look like a piece of fruit with a bite taken out of it. And you're ready to add color. All right, so now we've gotten our back sketch in. We're going to put our pencils back into our little jars here. And we're going to start off actually with the blue marker. Okay, so go ahead and get your blue. And before we draw any further, let me just kind of make a couple of notes real quick, okay? We've got extra little pieces of paper beside us because here in a minute, it's inevitable. You're going to run one of your nice, pretty light markers through a dark color, and you're going to get the tip of that marker dirty. You might put your yellow marker through the green, and so then the next time you try to use yellow, it's going to have kind of some yellow with some green in it. That's what these pieces of paper are for, okay? You can just mark your marker on there just a little bit until the green stops showing and it's just plain yellow, and that way you'll actually be able to keep your markers clean. And the next time you want yellow, you'll get just yellow instead of yellow and green, that kind of thing. Also, pay attention to how you're doing your dashes. And I'm specifically calling them dashes, not dots, not lines on your paper, because we're not doing this number, okay? We're not dot, 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 dot. They're actually just little dashes, and they're gonna look like little squares, just somewhat long squares, okay? Try your best to kind of pay attention to how the lines go. In the trees, we're gonna follow the flow of the trees, okay? Now on the tree trunks, we're gonna make our dashes in line with the tree trunks. On the bushes, we're going to do the same way we did in the trees, following the lines of the bushes all the way around, okay? Keeping our dashes in line. And then on the ground, in the grass, they're going to go sideways, okay? Back and forth. And then in the background in the forest, where you get to start seeing it get dark because you're going deeper and deeper into the forest, those lines are going to be up and down. By paying attention to how you do the lines, it's going to make it a little bit more easy to tell what's what in your picture rather than just being a bunch of dots. Also, try to get your dashes close together, but not overlapping, okay? And so you'll get to kind of watch us as we go along, and anytime you need to pause or change something, we'll be right here whenever you get back, okay? So we're gonna start with the blue, and we're gonna use blue a lot because that's gonna be what we use to kind of show that there's darkness in the picture, okay? When we want there to be light, when we want light in the picture, we'll add yellow in spots. When we want darkness, we'll add blue, okay? So let's go ahead and start by taking our marker, and we're not gonna be drawing like this, okay? We're gonna kind of lay it down on its side a little bit. You see how that? Okay, and if you want to, test it on your piece of paper here. Watch this, okay? You just see how that dash is? See what's, boom. Just like that, boom. No, lay it more on its side, and you get that. And you can hold it like normal. You're marking with this part of your marker, okay? You're marking with this wide, long spot right here, not the point and not that little corner before it starts to turn up to the point. You're marking with that flat space on the side of your marker.
Like this.
Exactly, that is exactly what you're doing. And you've got it down over there, great. So now, watch what I'm doing. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna just draw in. See how I'm not doing just simple, small lines. I'm making them kind of long. Oh, I almost forgot to mention, you guys will see what on our drawings here, we're using very small pieces of paper. Okay, we're using pieces of paper that are actually 4 by 6 inches. Okay, so you can trim yours down to that, and we've taped the edges of our paper just about a 1/4 inch overlap. So that way when we're done, we can take that tape off and it'll have a nice pretty outline. And so you can mark all the way up to it. You don't have to worry about messing up that outline. So as you're drawing, remember, we started with blue, and we started by doing the shadow on the underside of the tree, okay? So under the tree is going to be darker than the top of the tree because the sun's hitting on the top and underneath there's a shadow. So we just went ahead and just made a blue outline underneath the bottom of the leaves, okay? And we're going to do the same thing for the bushes. So we're going to treat the tree tops and the bushes the exact same way. Now, keep in mind, as you all are drawing, and we're working on our picture right here, but as you're drawing, make sure that you're using that flat portion on the side of your marker and you're making dashes, big chunky dashes, not little thin lines with that tip, making real chunky dashes, just short dashes, not dots, but actually, you're just little lines, short little chunky dashes, okay? And kind of avoid the tendency of trying to use all the white space on the paper, okay? Make sure you can always go back and fill in more, but once you've marked somewhere, you can't get rid of that mark, okay? So you can leave little spaces of white, that's totally okay. And then we can always go back and fill them in later, okay? All right, y'all are done with that part? Okay, so if you're done adding the shadow underneath your tree and underneath your bushes with the blue, we're gonna put that back. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna grab our green. And we're gonna go and start with the trees. Now remember, we're not going down into the grass yet. We're gonna wait on that because we're gonna make smudges if we're not careful, okay? We're gonna use our greens, remember, dashes, big chunky dashes. And we're going to just follow those lines that we made before. So what I like to do is add a row of green dashes just right above the blue ones, just like that, okay? Make sure not to lean or have your hand over top of your painting, of your drawing, if you can help it, okay? I'm even gonna add some green dashes in between some of my blue ones from that first line. Just remember, leave a little bit of white here and there because white will help. We can always go back and fill it in later. And we're going to fill in that whole space up there. Once we finish one row of green dashes, we're going to add another row of green dashes to the top of that one until we get all the way to the top of the paper. And those are going to be the leaves of the tree. And we like to make them kind of follow the line of the edge of the tree because that makes it look like it's got some shape to it, okay? Now, as we're working up to the top, you can leave a little bit of space above the lamb for a little bit of that yellow to make it look like the sun's kind of peeking through the treetops. If you've already gotten rid of all that space with green, that's totally okay because we want to put some yellow on the ground to make it look like the sunlight is hitting the grass right there where the lamb is standing, okay? So, I've got some spaces that are still left open here, but we're going to keep going down to the bushes, okay? And again, we're following the form of the back sketch that we made whenever we started our picture, okay? So follow those pencil lines, and you can draw right on top of them. That way they'll be hidden whenever your picture is done. Okay, see how I'm doing with that, Kate?
Okay.
Just like that. And so I'm kind of making the little dashes right over top of my pencil marks. And I'm trying my best to keep them like little rectangles still. Whoop. 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 Make sure to leave some space in those bushes right around where the lamb is for some yellow as well, so that way the sunlight, we can show that there's sunlight happening there. See, the way that we make light and dark apparent in the picture is when we want a place to look more shaded, we have more blue marks in that area. Whereas on the other side, we're going to have yellow marks to reflect light, okay? To represent light, that is, okay? That's kind of how Impressionist artists did. They didn't really mix their colors on their paintings. Instead, what they did is they put light colors right next to dark colors, and the more dark colors they put around it, that made that area darker. But the more light colors they put in the area, it made it look lighter. And that's how they showed light and dark in their pictures, like a shady spot underneath the tree versus a spot out in the field where the sun was shining bright. That's what we're going to do. Now, as you're working, you might have the desire to go back and add in one color or another in certain areas to kind of give some differentiation there. You might want to say, well, you know what, I want that area to look darker, so I want to add some more blue. Make sure that, you can do that whenever you want. Just make sure that you let the marker that you just put there dry a little bit, so that way, whenever you put more color on that, it won't really blend, but it'll actually look like one is laying on top of another, okay?
So they won't be mixed.
Exactly, that's what we're going for. Yep, that's great. So we've let our tree markers dry just a little bit. So I'm gonna add a little spot of yellow in mine so that it makes it look like the sun is shining down through the tree, just in the trees, okay? So, see how My marker is dirty. You can mark that off
Mine's
right
clean.
there. Yep.
Mine's clean. Are these
So-
yellow markers?
They are.
Ooh.
Yellow dashes
Yours is.
among the white spots between the green. Okay, also, now that you've done your tree, now you can go back in and add a little bit of sunshine, your yellow, into your bushes, just right around where the lamb is. Still leave a little bit of white space, but go ahead and add some yellow dashes in among the green, okay? Just right around where the lamb is, and not in the grass, not yet, because if we start working in the grass, we're gonna get marker on our hands. We don't want that. Once you've finished adding the sunshine elements to your tree and to your bush, leaving just a little bit of space, we can always come back later and add in some more yellow or more green or more blue, but having a little bit of white space in there is okay. Once you're done with that, we're going to put our yellows away and we're going to start putting in the brown on the tree trunks. Now in the demo portion, you saw that I actually used some orange in my tree trunks, and I like the look of that, but I want to try this time with just brown, okay? And so, again, we're making dashes. We're not coloring in the trees. Now, if you've done that, that's okay. But we're going to make dashes, and we're going to kind of color in the space with big, chunky dashes. Okay, girls, you kind of watch me here, and I'll show you what I'm doing. Now, we're also wanting to kind of portray a little bit of depth in the woods. And so earlier, I didn't have you draw this in with pencil, but it's okay. What we're going to do, you saw it in my original drawing where there was just some tree trunks standing in the background, but they didn't go all the way up to the tree leaves and they didn't go all the way down to the bushes. They were just kind of just back a little bit, just lines going up and down. And so we're going to add those in as well. And so you can watch on the girls' cameras and you can see what they're doing. But watch what I'm doing here, girls. Just dash, dash, dash. That's a tree trunk. But now look, I'm not going to go all the way to the ground. See, look back here, I'm going to go. See how that one's just kind of floating in the air? Because it's going to be back in the woods. Okay, this is showing that it's back behind the bushes a good
there's
ways.
going to be another tree in the back.
Yeah, you'll see.
What happens if you accidentally get some of your marker where you're not supposed to?
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
If you finish drawing your tree trunks in, we're going to put away our browns and we're going to start drawing Adam and Eve. We're going to color their bodies in. And here's the thing, because we just got this one brown, we can't use it for everything, so we got to find a color to use in place of it. Now, when you think about when God made Adam and Eve, Adam's name, you know what it means? It means
Red.
red. His name means red. And so you could say, well, I mean, like red as in like he had red hair. Well, some people say, yeah, I mean, it has his skin was ruddy, but because that's what that name could also mean, is red or ruddy. But most likely it's because his skin was kind of a reddish brownish color. Okay. See, we have so many different skin colors in the world. Everybody looks so different. Different shaped noses, different colored eyes, different colors hair, but also different colors of skin. Some people who have really, really light skin and they go out into the sun and they burn if they're out in the sun too long. There are other people in the world who they have skin that's so dark that it's almost black. And then you have all the different colors in between. Some people way over in Asia who have more maybe a yellowish tint to their skin. Some people who have a reddish tint to their skin. Even some places in the Middle East and around the Mediterranean that have like an olive or almost a grayish color mixed in with the brown tones of their skin. And so Adam, what he represents is actually, he stands right in the middle. Okay, imagine he was a reddish brown skinned person. And so from him and Eve, we got all the colors of everyone in the world. All the way down to the people who were super, super light white to the people who were super, super dark brown and black. Isn't that cool? Mm-hmm. We're really, truly all from one race. And so, but here's the thing. The red looks a little bit funny in the picture. We're going to use red for something else as well. And so we're actually going to cheat and we're going to use orange, okay? And so, remember, we're going off of our sketches here. We're going to color in our sketches. Try to use dashes if you can. You might have drawn your sketches really, really small or fine or detailed, or you might have made them like mine where it's just really plain. And so we're going to use dashes to cover it in. And it's okay if it's not super clear because, again, this is kind of abstract, okay? So girls, if you want to watch me, I'm going to make a dash right here. There's her head. There's her body. I'm going to make, now watch. Arm goes up And there's your hand. And then I'm going to go and do the same thing to Adam. Head, body, arm. Just like that. After you've used the orange for the skin tone portions of Adam and Eve, I'm going to use brown for their hair. And so Eve's going to have long hair, Adam's going to have short hair, just so we can easily see who is who. And so again, just dashes. And look, I kind of dash across her head to show that her hair is kind of like your all, just kind of coming down the side of your face. So watch this. I go, and then dash, down, down. And then Adam's dash, down. See how that works? That's okay. That's great. All right. Once you're done drawing in Adam and Eve with the orange and the brown, we're going to move on to using blue. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing the background of the forest. If you look, you can see at the top of your paper you have the treetops, and then in the middle of the paper you have your bushes, and you have the tree trunks in between. But as you go back further and further in the forest, it gets darker and darker. So we're going to use a lot of blue, but we're not going to color it all in. Remember, we're going to use dashes, up and down, dashes. So I'm going to color in just like this. I'm going to leave a few spots to use green because the forest is green, but there's just so much forest back in there that it's mostly going to be blue. Okay, so again, we've been marking our background with blue, but it's not completely blue, even though it's getting deep into the forest and it's getting dark and shadowy. Kind of like the night sky. You look up into the sky, it's not black at night, it's kind of a really, really, really dark blue. But
Very dark.
But as you go deeper into the woods, we're going to see that, but it's still green back in there, so we're going to add in some green. But just remember, the majority of your color deep in the woods is going to be blue with a little bit of green, and remember your dashes are kind of going up and down. We're not doing zigzags or U-shapes or anything like that. We're doing dashes, short, chunky marks, okay? In between the blues now with the green.
What's this?
Looking good. You're doing a great job. This is not an easy kind of art form because when you're looking at it, it kind of looks like a little bit of a mess. It's not super clear. The lines aren't maybe exactly right where you want them to be, but this is kind of abstract, okay? We're just kind of making just a loose representation of the drawing. So that's why it's okay to kind of have the various shapes. I mean, it's going to look like a bunch of little square marks all over your paper, depending on how you've marked with your marker. But when you look at it, you'll be able to see, oh yeah, I can tell that's a tree, that's Adam and Eve. And we're going to get down to the lamb that we've drawn in, and the snake, and the fruit here in just a second. So finish with your green in the woods. If you've realized that you've left too much white space and you want to make sure that you have mostly blue in the background, then fill in some of that white space with blue. But it's okay to have some white still back in there. So after we finished up doing the blue in the background, the blue and the green in the background of the forest, we're going to put our blues away and we're going to go ahead and do the bottom portion of the picture. We're going to start with the serpent. So we're going to use purple for that because we haven't used it yet and that'll really stand out. So remember, chunky dashes. It's okay if you get a little bit of a smaller point when you get towards the end of the snake tail.
Like this?
Yep, just like that. You see how I did mine? Yep. See how I did mine for you?
That's why I started at the tail.
Great. Well, that didn't take long.
Yeah.
Now we're going to do the grass. And we're going to start first with the green. And we're going to kind of put it evenly across the bottom of our page, okay? We'll go a little bit light though, right around the lamb, okay? We can always go back in and add more green, but kind of put it evenly everywhere else. Make sure not to hit the piece of fruit, okay? We're going to add that as red here at the very end. So dashes going sideways, big chunky sideways dashes.
Like this?
Yep.
Like this.
after we finish with the green going across, we're going to be using our blue, okay? We're going to make the area, just throwing my markers around. We're going to make the area around the serpent dark, okay? Because we want the spotlight to be on the lamb, okay? That's why we're having yellow going around the lamb some, but around the serpent, we're going to kind of make it more blue and make, so that way that side of the picture looks shadowy and the other side of the picture looks like it's light, okay? Because we're kind of playing with that imagery here, okay? The lamb is a picture of Jesus, and we're going to talk about why that is here in just a moment. But over here where the serpent is, we know the Bible says that the serpent was the devil. And so we're going to be using our blue to make that area around him dark. Now, I just finished with my blue. I'm going to probably go back and use it again here in a moment, but I'm looking at this and I want a little bit more green in mine, but I see that there's almost like no distinction between the grass and the bushes on mine, so I'm going to add a couple of brown dashes just here and there underneath the bushes to kind of indicate little stalks or trunks going up into the bushes. And so check this out, just a dash here, a dash there. Now we're going to add the yellow on the grass around the lamb. Like the sunshine breaking through. Now, you're going to hit some green with your yellow. Just use your paper and mark it off until the marks stop being green and they're more yellow. It's kind of like, that's it. It's kind of like using, whenever you're doing watercolors, it's almost like using your paper towel to clean your paintbrush. Marking your marker on your paper is like cleaning your marker like a paintbrush.
Yeah.
Now, before we add in the last colors, I'm gonna go back to blue for a second, and I'm gonna add a little bit of detail to that lamb, because right now it's probably all muddled around him. You've got a lot of green and yellow all around him, and we can kind of firm up his body, not by making an outline with the blue, but just catching the shadow of his body with blue. So like underneath his chin, underneath his belly, behind his leg, we're going to draw his ear in, so that, and lamb ears hang down, okay? They're not like dog ears that go up like this, they're floppy ears, okay? And then on top, if you're like, you know what, I can't see his back too well, we'll add that back in with a little bit of green right up there, and so that way you can make it so that you're not actually drawing, because we can't color with white. We don't have any white markers, so we're having to leave the space white. So we're using other colors to make sure that the outline is clear without actually drawing an outline. Well, what color did we not use?
Red.
Red. I told you earlier we were going to use red. We've got a piece of fruit down there, so we're going to mark it in red. Okay? You don't have to color it in. Again, it's okay if you kind of miss your lines that you're drawing. Remember, those chunky dashes, we're making it look the same all across the picture. So I'm just going to make a chunky dash, bump, 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 chunky dashes.
Yeah.
Just
I
like
just
that.
did small, thin dashes.
That's perfect. That's perfect. But we're not done with our red. Okay? Looking at this lamb over here, remember in the story when we talked about how an animal had to die because of Adam and Eve's sin? An animal had to give up its skin for God to clothe Adam and Eve for it. That was how God took care of their sin, because the Bible teaches that without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness of sin. So this lamb walks along, and we don't know if it was a lamb that gave up its life so that Adam and Eve could be clothed by God. But because Jesus would come and he would be called the Lamb of God, we use a lamb in this picture. And because we want to kind of send the message that this lamb is about to be sacrificed, what comes out whenever you cut someone?
Blood.
Blood, okay? When you get cut, you have blood. And so we're not going to draw blood in the picture, but instead we're going to put red flowers all around the lamb on the bushes around him. And it's going to kind of be a symbol of, ooh, red, blood. Adam and Eve sinned, and there's a lamb. God's going to clothe them with an animal skin. Oh no. Oh no. That lamb is about to be sacrificed. That was the price of sin. But God had a plan to take care of their sin. That's why he sent Jesus, so that he would die on the cross, shed his blood as the sinless Lamb of God, never having done anything wrong, just like the animals that gave up their skin so that Adam and Eve could be clothed. They never did anything wrong. Jesus never did anything wrong, but he suffered and died as if he had been the one to disobey God. And And as a result, he paid for our sin. So we're going to take our marker, and what I'm going to do is I just kind of make like little thin marks, and almost lay my marker down on itself, and I just make a little X, a little cross with the marker that's a red flower. And you can add extra petals to the flowers, but they don't have to be super detailed. If you want, you can just make it red berries. You can just do dots on the bushes all around it. Okay, before we get off here, again, you can go ahead and you can add in, if you see some spaces where it's like, you know what, I left too much white space, I want to add in some more blue on that bush right there. Or I'm going to go back in, I'm going to take this green, I'm going to add another leaf right here and right there. Or I want to have a little bit more yellow to make it shining right there around the lamb. That's okay. But now, this is the really fun part. Girls, have y'all finished with everything?
Mm-hmm. I added some flower buds.
Perfect. We're going to take the tape off of our pictures, and watch this. Do this carefully. Okay? Just grab the corner of the tape and just pull it off. This is the best part. So satisfying. Because it makes that nice, clean edge all along your drawing.
Mine just grabbed up my paper.
And there you go. Just like that. A nice, pretty white frame all around your picture. What do you think?
Very pretty.
You all did a great job. Decisions have consequences. Good decisions have good consequences, and bad ones have bad consequences. Adam and Eve brought a lot of bad consequences into the world when they disobeyed God. They broke the world and their relationship with God, but God promised to fix it. He would send a rescuer. Thanks so much for joining us on this episode of Craft Me a Story.